My wife was delayed in conceiving and we decided to IVF procedure. Before embryo synthesis, I bumped into my wife switching my sperm sample to her first love. I didn't say anything and switched the sperm sample back. I switched the sperm sample back and switched my wife's egg to my ex-girlfriend's. 25 years later, my wife's first love came to my door and pulled my son. Good son, I'm your real father. One eye and my son Ethan Grant foreign inspection of medical cooperation projects back home. Froze. A group of people in great numbers. Usually not even see the shadow of the distant relatives actually came. This battle, do not know thought Jiang family in the genealogy of the General Assembly. The most eye-catching, is sitting in the center of the sofa, eyes red from crying Ryan White. Emily Johnson, I often do not return home good wife, is a face of heartache to embrace him, comforting him softly. I raised an eyebrow, set my suitcase to the side, and looked over at Emily Johnson. What's the occasion today? All this hustle and bustle. Ethan Grant followed me, high and mighty. Wrapping his arms around me and staring at Ryan White with a disgusted look on his face, he was already vaguely aware of this man's identity. My mother-in-law sits in the main seat, not looking too good, wanting to say something. Without waiting for Emily Johnson to speak, Ryan White cried and pounced on Ethan Grant. My good son, I'm your real father. Ethan Grant nimbly dodged out of the way, frowning with a look of disgust, as if Ryan White was something dirty. He takes a step back and his tone is icy. My dad's name is Lucas Grant. This kid. He's really my sweet little vest. I take Ethan Grant's hand and give him a reassuring look before raising my hand and hammering my fist into Ryan White's face. The muffled sound of the fist echoed through the living room. Don't mess with your relatives. My tone was icy, my eyes like knives. Emily Johnson jolted to her feet, heartily helping Ryan White up, pointing at me and roaring, Lucas Grant, are you crazy? How dare you hit Lin Chuan? He raised his hand in a gesture to hit me. Ethan Grant, quick as a flash, stepped forward and slapped Emily Johnson. You dare to hit my father. Ethan Grant's voice was not loud, but it carried an unquestionable majesty. Emily Johnson froze, angry and furious, and raised her hand to hit Ethan Grant. Ryan White, however, pulled her back and cried falsely, Yu Yan, don't hit. That's our son. His fatherly demeanor made me want to vomit. Emily Johnson lowered her hand and glared at Ethan Grant. If it wasn't for the sake of your own father, I'd have to teach you a lesson today. Ethan Grant sneered. Heh, I'd like to see what you have to teach me a lesson. The stern look in his eyes resembled me when I was young. I was pleased in my heart. Worthy of being the son I carefully taught. A clan elder coughed his throat in an attempt to suppress the chaotic scene. All be quiet. His thick voice carried an unquestionable majesty. Everyone gradually quieted down and their eyes focused on their elders. He looked at Emily Johnson. Yu Yan, what exactly is the matter that you called everyone here for? Emily Johnson took a deep breath, as if she had gathered enough courage. She reached out and put her arm around Ryan White's shoulder with a look of deep affection. Actually, today, I have an important announcement to make. She paused, her eyes sweeping over the crowd, eventually landing on Ethan Grant and me. I watched her silently to see what kind of monkey business she could pull off. Ethan Grant, he, is not Ji's biological son. Emily Johnson's voice was not loud, but it was like a bomb that exploded in the living room. Ethan Grant jerked his head around to look at me, shock in his eyes. I gestured for him to be at ease. The relatives around us whispered and stirred with excitement like a school of sharks that had smelled blood. Back then, when we did IVF child, Emily Johnson paused. As if it was difficult to speak, the doctor said that the quality of Ji's sperm sample is not good. In order not to hurt his heart of wanting to be a father, I switched to Lin Chuan's. This stupid bastard stole the chicken and dog, and actually poured the dirty water on me. Emily Johnson's unsuspecting gaze fell on me, seemingly expecting me to lose control of my rage. Emily Johnson's impish gaze fell on me, as if she was expecting me to lose my temper. However, I was so calm and collected that she had to continue the show. Today, I've called you all here to witness. She looked fondly at Ryan White, Ethan Grant recognizing his real father. The relatives around them exploded. Ethan Grant isn't Lucas Grant's son. Surely he should recognize his real father. That's right. After dominating the Jiang family's son-in-law position for so many years, it's time to step aside. Lucas Grant has been occupying the Jiang family's properties for so many years. Now that the truth has come out, it's time for him to step down from Johnson Enterprises. Listening to these arguments, I laughed coldly in my heart. These ill-intentioned relatives, who have been suppressed and purged from the company's management by me in recent years, and can only rely on the end-of-the-year dividend profits, are more than dissatisfied with me. They are now happy to eat melon and watch the show. See Emily Johnson and I fall out. They can return to the company to get a share of the spoils. Ethan Grant looked at the relatives who did not hide the greed in their eyes, and gripped my hand tighter. I spoke. Ethan Grant will only be my child. The voice was small, but loud. Ryan White put on a hopeless look and choked. Brother Z, how long are you going to kid yourself? 3 am not fooling myself. Ethan Grant is indeed my child. Do Emily Johnson and Ryan White really think they can fool me? Back then, Emily Johnson was unable to conceive and we decided to go through the IVF procedure. And before the embryo synthesis, I accidentally saw Emily Johnson and the nurse sneaking around my sperm sample storage cabinet. And I also heard her call Ryan White with a happy look on her face, saying that she had already switched his sperm sample to a new one. I also heard her call Ryan White with a happy face, saying that she had changed his sperm sample. I didn't make a fuss. I just turned around and gave the doctor $1 million and asked her to replace the extra sperm sample I had taken earlier. I also kindly asked the doctor to replace Emily Johnson's egg with my ex-girlfriend's egg. On the day of the embryo synthesis, Emily Johnson and I witnessed the miracle together. She was uncharacteristically happy, probably thinking it was her and Ryan White's baby. I laughed my ass off at her silly face. All these years I've watched her treat Ethan Grant like a clown, and I can't tell you how much fun it's been. She wanted to screw me over, but she didn't realize that she was unknowingly raising someone else's child for more than 20 years. Emily Johnson interrupted my memories and taunted me. In denial. Ethan Grant may have followed you around all these years, but sperm sample is not yours. His real father is Ryan White. My tone was calm but with a hint of provocation. Are you being delusional? If you don't believe me, let's go do a DNA test. Emily Johnson's tone was firm. And I'm going to divorce you. You've been my dog licker. You've coerced me into marriage. And after 25 years with you, I'm done with you. A flash of joy crossed her face as she filed for divorce. It seemed to have been wanted for a long time. She also dares to say that she has been merciful to me. When I joined her family for 25 years, I kept my house empty for 25 years. While I was raising my children alone, she was having a fling with Ryan White. While I was working in the mall to support the Jiang family, she was in the entertainment industry. But she's wrong about one thing. I didn't become her lapdog because I loved her. I married him to be the Jiang family's youngest wife and to control Johnson Enterprises. Now, Johnson Enterprises is under my control. Then, Emily Johnson has no more use for her. Divorce is fine. I shrugged indifferently, but a DNA test won't be necessary. I'm sure Ethan Grant is my child. Ethan Grant looked at me with determined eyes. Dad, I believe you. Emily Johnson and Ryan White were instantly anxious. Ethan Grant, don't you trust Mommy? Ethan Grant ignored her and just stayed close to me. Just then, a male college student-looking boy barged in. He walked right up to Ethan Grant and called out with an excited look on his face. Brother. Everyone in the room froze. It was fine for an extra dad to pop up. But why was there a younger brother? For I looked at the boy whose face resembled Ryan White's and had a vague guess in my mind. This is probably Emily Johnson and Ryan White's illegitimate child. It was well hidden, not letting me find out for more than 20 years. It seems that this drama is even more wonderful than I imagined. Mother-in-law sat at the top and looked at the boy without anger. Yu Yan, what's going on? The atmosphere in the living room, once again, froze. The boy looked reedied, like he was about to cry. Brother, my name is Logan White. I've always known about you. He stammered a little, his voice not loud, but with a hint of a tremble. He stole a glance at me and quickly lowered his head again, like he was afraid I'd blame him. My dad. He's always told me about you. That you're wonderful and handsome, sobbed Ryan White at the right time, his shoulders shaking. Ethan Grant, my baby boy. Daddy really missed you all these years. He looked up, teary-eyed, as if he'd been wronged. He's been missing you too. We've been sneaking to see you often. Logan White nodded his head in a hurry and added eagerly, really, brother. I went to your school just so I could be closer to you. He took out a bunch of photos from his pocket and carefully handed them to Ethan Grant. These are your photos that I secretly took them. Ethan Grant took the pile of photos and roughly flipped through them. There were photos of him wearing his graduation gown and smiling brightly. There were photos of him with a tired face after practicing basketball. And there were photos of him engaging in a debate with his classmates and looking radiant. Ethan Grant felt goosebumps rising. There was actually a pervert-like guy hiding beside him all these years, visually raping him and secretly filming him. Emily Johnson was not idle either, walking up to her mother-in-law, pointing at Logan White with a heavy tone. Mom, this is the grandson of the Jiang family. Today all the clan elders are also here to witness. You just recognize him. Emily Johnson was also a little bit smart. She knew that after her father-in-law passed away, the one who had a say in the Jiang family was actually her mother-in-law. She invited all the clan elders to come, but it was just to force mother-in-law to recognize this child. She was certain that if mother-in-law agreed to let Logan White recognize his ancestor, then I would have nothing to say. After all, in these 25 years, she also observed my obedience and filial piety to mother-in-law. Logan White was very smart. Immediately turned to mother-in-law and respectfully shouted, Grandma. Mother-in-law looked at Logan White and then at me. Her eyes were complicated. And she did not immediately respond to Logan White's voice. I know that mother-in-law is heartbroken. I couldn't bear to see my mother-in-law in a difficult situation, so I opened my mouth to break the ice. Emily Johnson, letting this illegitimate child recognize his ancestor and inherit the Jiang family is your real purpose, right? Why bother dragging Ethan Grant into this? 5. I turned my head to Ethan Grant and exchanged a look. Even if Ethan Grant isn't my biological child, he is the only child under my Lucas Grant name. All the properties in my name, real estate, stocks, funds, including 20 of Johnson Enterprises shares, I will leave them all to him. Ethan Grant, if that's the case, would you rather be with me or with your mom in this? I don't know if it's true or not, Dad. My little boy's little head was spinning so fast. His eyes were bony, and he immediately understood what I meant. He immediately jumped into my arms, his little face rubbing against my arm, and crisply shouted, Mommy has a brother now, and the property isn't left to me, so of course I'm with Daddy. Good boy. Worthy of being carefully taught by me. Ryan White's eyes lit up more brightly than a kilowatt bulb when he heard that I was willing to give all my property to Ethan Grant. He knew that I had a lot of property in my name, and that the gold, silver, jewelry, and real estate alone was a lot of money, not to mention the 20 of Jiang's shares, which was like a mountain of gold. Greed, naked greed, was undisguised on his face. He came to Emily Johnson's ear and muttered for a while. When the old man passed away, in order to check and balance each other, the 60 Johnson Enterprises shares in hand were divided into 4. 20 to Lucas Grant, 20 to the old lady, 10 to Ethan Grant, and you only got 10. If Lucas Grant transfers his shares to Ethan Grant, and we coax Ethan Grant's shares into our hands later, you'll have 40 in your hands. The priority now is to get Lucas Grant to spit out the shares and property he's holding, get him out of the house and bring Ethan Grant into the fold. When Emily Johnson thought about it, Ryan White was right. So she stepped forward and gave Ethan Grant a motherly look. Ethan Grant, your brother can stand on his own 2 feet and won't fight you for your property, and am willing to give you all of it. She paused and added a condition. The prerequisite is, you have to go for a DNA test with Lin Chuan. If the test results show that you are father and son, you have to recognize Ryan White as your father and treat him well. Ethan Grant stole a glance at me, and I nodded imperceptibly. Yes, Ethan Grant agreed, but he also put up a condition. However, before going to do the DNA test, both mom and dad have to go to the notary office with me first, and transfer all the property to my name without any free gift. In my heart, I screamed, this kid, he's so resourceful, what you get in your hand is real. Don't believe in verbal promises. 6 now. The clan elders who were watching the event were excited. What Ryan White could think of, they could naturally think of, and each one of them rubbed their fists, as if they saw countless treasures beckoning to them. Emily Johnson didn't know how to run a business at all. And if Johnson Enterprises had been in his name, it would have been up to them to take advantage of it. I'm not sure how to do it. Yes, yes, yes. That's the way it should be. One of the clan elders led the chorus. They'll contact the notary office right away. Another clan elders pulled out his cell phone and made a call. The group of people were busy as if they were organizing some happy event. While they were busy, my mother-in-law worriedly stopped me. Good boy. Should you reconsider about gifting the property? I shook my head with a smile and comforted her. Mom, don't worry. I have my own measure. Mother-in-law has always known my strength. See me not panic. Also no longer persuade me. With their help, the property in my name and Emily Johnson's name, in addition to 50,000 per person's living expenses, the rest, all transferred to Ethan Grant's name. Notary office. Emily Johnson and Ryan White looked at Ethan Grant as if they were in love with each other. Looking at Ethan Grant, as if seeing the future of leading Johnson Enterprises to call the shots, smiling happily. I smiled at their delusional, instantly billionaire son. But it wasn't enough for Emily Johnson to hemorrhage money. I had to skin Ryan White. Ryan White, I thought you said you loved Ethan Grant. Not showing it. I spoke absently, my gaze sweeping over Ryan White's well-groomed, pseudo-vegetarian face. I've spent millions raising Ethan Grant for you over the last 20 years. I don't want your compensation either. Just give the money to Ethan Grant. After all, I love him the most. Ethan Grant took advantage of the robbery. Uncle, bye. You've been with my mom for more than 20 years. A few million is something, right? It just so happens that we are still in notary office. Do you want to show your loyalty to me? Otherwise I doubt that you don't love me and want to recognize me just for the Jiang family behind me. Oh. He blushed, caught in a dilemma. Giving the money. She was in pain. If he didn't give the money, Ethan Grant suspected his purpose of recognizing his family. Shedding the child and not catching the wolf, Ryan White gritted his teeth, pulled out a card from his bag, and handed it to Ethan Grant. Ethan Grant. Of course Daddy loves you. Here is $5 million. It's the money Dad saved for more than 10 years. Ethan Grant nonchalantly grabbed the bank card and called for a notary to notarize it immediately. Ryan White smiled beside him. Only his smile was a little twisted, as if he was being cut. 7. The appraisal organization was chosen by Emily Johnson. She was afraid that I would get my hands dirty and chose the most authoritative National Forensic Institute. I coldly grunted. Smarty pants. After the staff collected blood samples from me, Ryan White, and Ethan Grant, I asked them to collect Emily Johnson's blood as well. Emily Johnson looked at me incredulously. Lucas Grant, are you crazy? It's my baby. I hooked my lips and smiled wistfully. Chinese. The main one is here. So let's do it. By the way. Although Ethan Grant didn't understand why I did this, he knew I must have a purpose. So he played a temper tantrum and asked Emily Johnson to take a DNA test as well. Emily Johnson now treats Ethan Grant like an ancestor, so she agreed to his request. On the way out of the lab, Ryan White's son, Logan White, arrived holding a bouquet of flowers. Brother. He called out to Ethan Grant, handed him the flowers, and made to hug him, but Ethan Grant looked as sick as if had swallowed a fly and pushed him away. Don't touch me. The kid, half a head taller than Ethan Grant, looked human. Ethan Grant, this is your brother, Ryan White hurriedly advised. A family should love each other. Ethan Grant rolled his eyes. The appraisal results are not out. Don't recognize your relatives first, haha. They'll leave your family to love each other. I said faintly. Emily Johnson. Let's go to the Civil Affairs Bureau now to get a divorce license. Because there was no property in everyone's name and no child custody to negotiate. Emily Johnson and I didn't even have to sign a divorce agreement and went straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get a divorce certificate. Ryan White's eyes were wide with joy. Obviously not expecting us to get divorced so quickly. He thought I would still be dead set on not getting divorced. But Ethan Grant stood closely to the side with me. He watched me and Ethan Grant's intimate appearance. And then red eyes. Ethan Grant went to the parking lot to pick up the car. Ryan White finally caught a chance. To the single I was conspiratorial. Lucas Grant. Emily Johnson has never loved you. Never loved you. Do you know why Ethan Grant's name is Ethan Grant? It's because I have the word "ca" in my name. Emily Johnson put her arm around Ryan White with a smug look on her face. When the DNA test results come out, Ethan Grant will naturally come back to us. Logan White also changed his image as a white rabbit in front of Ethan Grant and was arrogant and bossy. All the money is now brothers. When the DNA test results come back, you'll be waiting to wander the streets. I didn't bother to respond to their stupid provocations. Emily Johnson didn't get a response from me and felt that the jig was up. Showing her true colors. You've held Johnson Enterprises in your hands for so many years. It's time for me to be in charge now. You really are using Ethan Grant to beat Johnson Enterprises. I sneered. So what if I am? Emily Johnson had a disinterested look on her face. Now that the property is all transferred to Ethan Grant, just wait for the DNA test results to come out. By then, he'll be the owner of Johnson Enterprises. Then he'll wait and see if you have this good fortune to truly dominate Johnson Enterprises. I had ice-cold eyes. Their little calculations crackled, thinking that they were winning. But they didn't know that they had no chance of winning from the beginning. When I was handing over the work in the company, Logan White appeared in the company and kicked the general manager out, strutting on a leather chair, crossing his legs and saying that his chairman was his brother and he was the general manager. The people didn't dare stop him at that, but I dared to teach him a lesson. Throw him out. Several security guards immediately stepped forward to rack Logan White. You dare to touch me. Logan White fiercely stood up and pointed at the security guards' noses and cursed. My brother is the chairman of the board. I am his own brother. You lapdogs. Try touching me. He also cursed at me. You bitch have been kicked out of the Jiang family and have no right to command Johnson Enterprises employees. Screaming and shoving the security guards while trying to come up and hit me. What lawlessness. Just then, Ethan Grant arrived. What's going on? He asked with a cold face. Brother. You're just in time. Logan White immediately changed into an aggrieved expression. This old man wants the security guards to kick me out. This is a company. It's not your turn to be wild. Ethan Grant looked at him coldly. Also, I'm not your brother. Ethan Grant, how can you talk to your brother like that? Ryan White also rushed over. You are blood brothers. And in the future, your brother will have to help you share the company's affairs. Otherwise you will be bullied if you don't have your family to back you up. Ethan Grant, however, sneered. Throw them both out. Ryan White saw that softness was not working, so he started to throw a fit, not letting the security guards touch him. I'm the husband of Emily Johnson, the heir of your Johnson Enterprises, and the real father of Jiang Ethan Grant. This group is also mine. I sneered. Throw them out. Don't dirty the company. The security guards heard and understood who really owns the company now. Racked up these two people who don't know the sky and dragged them out directly. Ryan White, however, was still screaming. Lucas Grant, you wait for me. Tomorrow, when the results of the appraisal come out, I'm going to make you kneel down and beg me to reward you with a meal. I looked at him and said, don't worry. I've been waiting for the results. 9. It was finally the day Ryan White had been waiting for. I purposely got up early and dressed up. After all, I had to dress up exquisitely to see Ryan White get punched in the face. In addition to my mother-in-law, Emily Johnson still invited the clan elders crowd to join her at the forensic lab to witness the event, presumably because she wanted more people to see me laugh. Heh, naive. I wanted everyone to laugh at me. But she was the funniest. Before I saw the results, I asked Emily Johnson with a wry smile, you picked the forensic lab yourself. You won't dispute the results, will you? Emily Johnson straightened her back and said with conviction, of course not. I, Emily Johnson, always keep my word. I almost laughed out loud. She really didn't see the coffin and didn't shed a tear. The appraiser hadn't returned yet, and Ryan White started the show. He took Emily Johnson's arm affectionately and leaned his head on her shoulder. You Yen, when the results come out, we'll be reunited as a family. As he said that, he even gave me a provocative look. I ignored him and turned to Ethan Grant, who was also indifferent to Ryan White's performance, and was a bit embarrassed. But he quickly adjusted his expression and turned to Ethan Grant. I'll be your dad from now on. If there's anything you want, just tell Dad. As he said, he took out a delicate little box from his bag and handed it to Ethan Grant. This is the watch Dad bought for you. It's a sort of acknowledgement gift. Do you like it? Ethan Grant didn't even look at it and said coldly, no need. The smile on Ryan White's face froze. Emily Johnson rushed to make a roundup. Ethan Grant, your dad also has good intentions. I don't need his good intentions. Ethan Grant interrupted her. I only have one dad, and that's Lucas Grant, and a warmth welled up in my heart. My son, always on my side. At that moment, the expert came back with 3 identification results. Ryan White and Emily Johnson. Logan White. 3 people immediately energetic. Eyes straight staring at the documents in the hands of the expert. Their eyes were like hungry wolves seeing their prey. They looked at me as if I was going to lose my reputation in the next second and they were going to be honored. I couldn't hold back my laughter. Ryan White's breath caught in his throat and his fingernails, painted with bright red cardamom, dug into Emily Johnson's arm, whose hands shook with excitement and whose face turned red as if she were going to explode in the next second. She mouthed the words, Ethan Grant, our family can finally be together in name only. I noticed that she looked at me as if I was already a beaten-down dog. Ryan White was even more exaggerated. His body was trembling slightly. Ethan Grant, Daddy finally proved himself. Logan White, that dumbass, was even more impatient to walk up to Ethan Grant. Brother, when we go back to Johnson Enterprises later, you have to arrange for me to be the general manager right away. I'm your own brother, and I'm the only one who will sincerely help you. He had a look of entitlement on his face. as if Ethan Grant would definitely help him and the general manager was already in his pocket. I watched the three of them in their ugly state and sneered in my heart. Until the last moment. One doesn't know who's the clown. 10. The appraiser cleared his throat and began to read out the results. According to the DNA comparison results, Mr. Ryan White and Mr. Jiang Ethan Grant. He deliberately paused for a moment, and Ryan White and Emily Johnson became even more nervous, stretching their necks, itching to put their ears to the mouth of the appraiser. The surrounding Jiang family members also held their breath and looked different, waiting to see my joke. There is no paternity. The air seemed to freeze. Emily Johnson stared wide-eyed and hysterically yelled as if she was crazy. Impossible. There must be a mistake. Ryan White screamed back. How can this be? How can there be no paternity? His face instantly turned pale, and he couldn't hide the horror on his face. Did you see wrongly with your presbyopia? Let me take a look. Logan White grabbed the report and after reading the results, he fell dejectedly into a chair and muttered, "How could this be?" I asked the expert examiner to read the DNA test report of the one between Ethan Grant and me. According to the DNA match, Ethan Grant and I, our biological father and son, there was an uproar all around. Emily Johnson looked like she was struck by lightning. Impossible, he mumbled in shock. I looked at Ethan Grant, my mother-in-law, and everyone else looking like they couldn't figure it out, and kindly explained, I saw it back when you did the deed. So I switched my sperm sample back. I looked at her increasingly ugly face and continued, by the way, I also swapped your egg, by the way, for my ex-girlfriends. The entire room was shocked into silence by this news. And my mother-in-law jerked her head up, her cloudy eyes filled with shock. I looked at Emily Johnson and said, word for word, Ethan Grant, it's not your baby. Congratulations. Happy to be a mom for 20 years. Emily Johnson sniffed and grabbed her and Ethan Grant's DNA test report from the identifier, and upon seeing the results, her eyes instantly turned bloodshot and she stormed over to me trying to hit me. Bitch, she roared. The bodyguard behind me was quick to stop him and pushed her hard to the ground. I looked at her from above, my eyes cold. Ryan White heard this news. But like grabbing a lifesaver, he jumped to Emily Johnson's side and said in a shrill voice, Yu Yan, if Ethan Grant isn't yours, then it's not the Jiang family's. The heir can only be Logan White. His brightly painted red fingernails were almost embedded in Emily Johnson's flesh. Emily Johnson figured it out and jerked her head up, a hint of viciousness flashing in her eyes. She stumbled to her feet and walked over to her mother-in-law, who had been shocked into a stupor. Mom, fellow clan elders, you all heard and saw that Ethan Grant is not my child. She pointed at me, spittle flying and shouting at the top of her lungs. He's the wild child of Lucas Grant and his ex-girlfriend. We can't let the Jiang family's property fall into the hands of outsiders. Ryan White's father and son followed suit and screamed. Right. Throw that bitch Ethan Grant out. The Jiang family's heir can only be me, Logan White. 11. The always composed mother-in-law had already slowed down from her shock, and she completely ignored Emily Johnson, her expression a complex one that onlookers could not understand. In a rare loss of composure, she asked me in a trembling voice, G.E., is it true? Seeing her like this, the bottom of my eyes suddenly gathered a trace of tears. It's true. Emily Johnson was dissatisfied with her mother-in-law's reaction and shook her hand. Mom, quickly announced that the heir is Logan White. Mother-in-law had already organized her emotions and brushed his hand away, faintly asking, do you know who G.E.'s ex-girlfriend is? Emily Johnson scratched her ears anxiously. It's none of my business who it is. Anyway, Ethan Grant is not our Jiang family seed. G.E.'s ex-girlfriend is your sister, Jiang Yuyan. So Ethan Grant is still a child of the Jiang family and is the only rightful heir. Mother-in-law's words were like a bomb that was thrown into the crowd. Back then, the tradition of the Jiang family, I believe everyone knows that only the eldest legitimate child is allowed to inherit the big business. And only when this faction is extinct will it be the turn of the illegitimate child. Mother-in-law's eyes stared sternly at Emily Johnson and warned, "Back then, when Yu Yan had an accident after the incident, the old man had no choice but to take you home." Yu Yan. Don't forget your identity. Emily Johnson, who was reminded by her mother-in-law to pay attention to her own identity, turned pale. The reason why Emily Johnson is called Yu Yan, which is the same as Jiang Yuyan. In fact, it also represents that Jiang family members take Jiang Yuyan as the center of their life beforehand. When his father-in-law was young, he was designed by the female secretary to give birth to him. However, the Jiang family focuses on the purity of the bloodline. Not any cat or dog-born child is worthy of entering the door of the Jiang family. The only child he recognized was Jiang Yuyan, who was conceived with his mother-in-law from a family of scholars. In addition to pay alimony on time, the father-in-law did not look at her, but the sky has unpredictable wind and clouds. The father-in-law carefully cultivated heir Jiang Yuyan. Check the company's engineering. In the construction site of an accident, become vegetative state. Have no choice but to. The father-in-law to put the attention of the Emily Johnson on the body. He proposed conditions to Emily Johnson. Want to return to the Jiang family can. But must let me into the family, because my father is the father-in-law's life-saving benefactor, Emily Johnson, and I have no feelings. And the heart of the white moonlight did not want to marry me. However, she was also very clear about the benefits of going back to the Jiang family, so she married me as I seemed to be in love with her. Ryan White originally could not see her as a penniless woman, but as soon as she became the daughter of the Jiang family, he agreed to be her lover. Emily Johnson was quite devoted to Sia Bai. And the reason why we went to do the IVF procedure was because she also had to observe a vow of silence for Ryan White to observe the festival. Do not touch me at all. Two people would have liked to wait for the death of his father-in-law swallowed the Jiang family, but I did not expect his father-in-law left a hand, the shares in his hands for 4, so that we check and balance each other, but also designated me as the chairman of Johnson Enterprises to manage. Do not allow Emily Johnson to enter the company to serve. So Emily Johnson could only take a cut at the end of the year by virtue of her shares, and was very upset that she hadn't been in power all these years. I don't believe Ethan Grant is his sister's child. Why should Lucas Grant say yes? Emily Johnson was still making her last stand. 12. I gave her a mocking look and pulled another DNA test report out of my bag. This is the DNA test report of Ethan Grant and Jiang Yuyan. I opened the report and showed it to the crowd. It's fine if you don't believe me. Yuyan is lying in the rehabilitation center. Ethan Grant is also here. And everyone can then apply for a national appraisal agency to conduct on-site sampling for appraisal. Ethan Grant is the bloodline of the Jiang family. I'm sure everyone will be convinced. Father and son Ryan White were also dumbfounded. How could they not expect that Ethan Grant was actually Jiang Yuyan's child? The old lady still looked calm and composed, but in her eyes were flashes of tears. The clan elders began to talk. So Ethan Grant is Yuyan's child. So Ethan Grant is the real Jiang family heir. Emily Johnson. This illegitimate child seems to have no way of trying to hijack the Jiang family's property. Their eyes were full of contempt when they looked at Emily Johnson. Emily Johnson sat paralyzed on the ground as if she had been drained of all her strength. Her eyes empty. She didn't let Ethan Grant recognize her and gave him all the property. Ryan White and his son also wilted like a frosted eggplant. The clan elders understood that Emily Johnson was not a match for me at all. They looked at Emily Johnson with disdain. They couldn't get anything out of following Emily Johnson. Emily Johnson stared at me, didn't know what to think, and stood up. Fawningly walked to me. "Gee, I know you love me, but you're just angry that I'm out and about, aren't you? I promised to break it off with Ryan White. You let me go back to the Jiang family, okay?" I looked at her with compassion and spoke slowly. "Emily Johnson, you're wrong. I never loved you." Her face instantly turned pale. "What? Did you say? She trembled her lips. Then why did you? You always used to look at me obsessively and insist on marrying me. I coldly explained. Because you look like Yu Yan. I look at your appearance to chat to comfort just. Marrying you is to hold on to the family business for Yu Yan. You replace Yu Yan as the Jiang family's daughter. I have to join the family to become the Jiang family's son-in-law's identity. Before I get the ticket to enter the ownership of Johnson Enterprises. To prevent the tiger's eye on the side branch to seize power. You must be wondering why Yu Yan is my ex-girlfriend. Why would father-in-law prefer to give Johnson Enterprises to me to take care of, rather than giving it to you, his blood-related daughter? Why did mother-in-law treat me like a mother and son over the years? You weren't in the Jiang family when you were a child. So you don't know that although I grew up in the countryside, my father-in-law picked me up every year during the summer and winter vacations to live in the Jiang family villa in order to thank my father for saving my life. And I fell in love with Yu Yan long ago as a childhood friend. My mother-in-law raised me as a son, while my father-in-law is even raising me as Yu Yan's wise assistant. I received the same elite education as Yu Yan. I laughed out loud like I was looking at a fool. Ridiculous. You actually think I'm just a country boy who climbed up to the Jiang family by virtue of my father saving my life. And you're still stupid enough to think you're loved. 13 Emily Johnson stood there dumbfounded as if struck by lightning. She had always thought that I loved her to death. But now, she realized that she was just a pathetic stand-in. Everything she had was built on a lie. And now that lie has been exposed. She has nothing. Emily Johnson is devastated. We've all been acting for 25 years. Now the play is over. And it's time for the curtain to fall. I asked the nanny to pack up Emily Johnson's things and blew her out of the Jiang family villa. Mom. I previously collaborated with a foreign medical organization on a project about stimulating vegetative state nerves to promote awakening. The old lady jerked her head up. A glimmer of hope lit up in her eyes. You mean? I nodded. Yu Yan has already received several sessions of treatment. And her brainwaves are very active. The doctor said that she will wake up soon. The old lady was so happy that tears came to her eyes. Yu Yan, my Yu Yan, and Emily Johnson, who had been kicked out of the Jiang family, stumbled like a bereaved dog. 25 years of false prosperity had been shattered in one fell swoop. She returns to the condo she used to buy for Ryan White, who is not very welcoming. It's all your fault. Now we have nothing. Emily Johnson snapped back, her eyes red. Blame me. Would we be here today if you hadn't switched sperm samples in the first place? Ryan White froze. He didn't expect Emily Johnson to put all the blame on him. Didn't you agree in the first place? Emily Johnson grabbed his arm with a frightening force. Shut up. What's the point of talking about this now? We don't have the money anymore. You know what? How are we going to live on only $50,000? Ryan White struggled to shake off her hand. Well, what then? We can't go out and work, can we? Emily Johnson let go of her hand in dismay. Yeah, what to do? She was used to a life of fine clothes and stars. Now, she had nothing. Ryan White suddenly thought of something. $5 million. Ethan Grant still has the $5 million I gave him there. Emily Johnson's eyes lit up. Go find Ethan Grant. The two stumbled to Ethan Grant's apartment. After ringing the doorbell for half a day, Ethan Grant slowly opened the door. There wasn't a hint of surprise on his face when he saw the two men. What are you guys doing here? Ryan White pushed Ethan Grant out of the way and stormed into the room. You gave me my money back. Ethan Grant sneered. On what grounds? Ryan White pointed at Ethan Grant, shaking with anger. That's my money. Ethan Grant walked over to the couch and sat down, crossing his legs. Mr. White, that $5 million. I've had it notarized and it was given to me free of charge. So, I don't need to give it back to you. Ryan White only felt the blackness before his eyes. You You. He pointed at Ethan Grant. You halfway. But couldn't say a complete sentence. With a sharp pain in his chest, he went black and was so angry that he fell straight down. Emily Johnson was stunned. Lin Chuan. Lin Chuan. She jumped over and hugged Ryan White. Shouting at the top of her voice, Ethan Grant watched the scene, but still kindly dialed 120. Then, as if nothing had happened, he continued to read the book in his hand. 14 Emily Johnson and Ryan White, who hadn't asked for the money, complained to each other. After the 50,000 ran out, Emily Johnson had no money left, and Ryan White, who could not possibly come up with the remaining 100,000 to support Emily Johnson, urged Emily Johnson to go out and find a job, or else he would kick her out. I was kind enough to call a headhunter and ask her to arrange a job for Emily Johnson. Some time later, I invited Ethan Grant to join me for dinner. On the way to the restaurant, I was humming a song and Ethan Grant asked me why I was so happy. I said, because we're going to have a good show later on. Sitting in the second-floor booth of the open kitchen restaurant, Ethan Grant looked through the clear glass and saw Emily Johnson, who had never touched a finger before, in her chef's overalls, cooking live in the first-floor restaurant. He looked at me with raised eyebrows. That's it. Of course it's more than that. Keep looking. I smiled and told him to be patient. A few moments later, we see Ryan White enter the restaurant with a woman with a pretty face and a nice figure. The two of them talking, laughing, and very intimate. Emily Johnson naturally sees it as well, and her expression instantly freezes. Lin Chuan. What? What are you doing here? Ryan White did not even look at her and continued to flirt with the woman. Emily Johnson's voice raised a few points. Lin Chuan. I'm asking you. Ryan White then raised his head impatiently and gave her a sidelong glance. What for? Eating. Of course. Are you blind? Emily Johnson pointed at the woman. You and her. And Ryan White suddenly laughed and laughed and laughed. What's wrong with me and Kevin? In your way. Emily Johnson's face rose to a pig's liver color. She's my girlfriend. What? Can't you? Emily Johnson stumbled back a few steps. Girlfriend. You actually. I actually what? Ryan White looked at her provocatively. I'm telling you, Emily Johnson. I was with Kevin over 20 years ago. I used to use all the money you gave me to support her. He paused and added, Anne, Logan White, is also mine and Kevin's son. The blood faded from Emily Johnson's face as if her soul had been drained. She stared dead at Ryan White, her eyes filled with disbelief and despair. Kevin, who was beside her, laughed out contemptuously. Big sister, there's the Heelanbuyer Prairie on your head. Emily Johnson felt like her world had completely collapsed. The man she loved so much betrayed her. Her son, too, was not hers. More than 20 years of dedication, in exchange for just a joke. Then, she went back to where she had just been working and grabbed a knife before storming back in, pouncing on Ryan White and stabbing him as if he were crazy, roaring hysterically. You bitch. You ruined me. You ruined everything for me. Ryan White let out a scream as blood instantly stained his clothes. 15 Ethan Grant watched in horror as the bloodshed unfolded in front of him, while I happily sipped my tea. The police soon arrived and took Emily Johnson away. Ethan Grant asked me dumbfounded, Dad, is this the play you wanted me to see? I put down my teacup and taught him in a serious tone. Ethan Grant, Dad taught you today. Don't be soft on your enemies. Emily Johnson. They tried to take the property. Just kick her out of the house. Why be so hard on her? Ethan Grant wondered. Because when your mom was injured at the construction site back then, it wasn't an accident. She was set up by Emily Johnson to travel to the construction site, and the van that got out of control at the site was cut up by Ryan White. I try to stay calm, but my voice still contains hate. I still can't forget how I felt when I saw Yuyan covered in blood. In these 25 years, I wanted to kill Emily Johnson and Ryan White every single day. But I held back because I wanted them to kill each other. Emily Johnson's job as a chef was arranged by me so that it was easier for him to hold a sharp weapon. Ryan White was lured here by me. Ryan White was lured in by me. His date was a publicist, and I had Mama Sandy push 2 of my regular time coupons for this restaurant right in front of Emily Johnson, so she couldn't help but see them. Later, I heard Ethan Grant say that Logan White, who was having trouble making ends meet without Ryan White's money, had followed his own mother into the male publicist business. His classmates even named him when he went to hang out with them. How ironic. Days go by and life seems to be peaceful again. But a call from the hospital caused ripples in the peaceful life. The doctor said that Jiang Yuyan woke up. I could hardly believe my ears. After 25 years, he finally woke up. I took Ethan Grant and my mother-in-law and rushed to the hospital at the first opportunity. In the hospital room, Jiang Yuyan was lying quietly on the bed. Her face was pale, but her eyes were clear. Seeing me, she smiled faintly. "Ge, how have you aged?" My nose turned sour and tears came to my eyes. "You've been sleeping for a long time," I choked. "We've all been waiting for you for a long time." I pointed to the door and waited for my mother-in-law and Ethan Grant to enter in turn. Jiang Yuyan's eyes fell on Ethan Grant and asked who this was. I confessed to her that it was our son born from IVF procedure. She froze for a moment, but also accepted it well, and looked at Ethan Grant with more than a touch of love in her eyes. She asked what her son's name was. I replied, "Her name is Ethan Grant." Jiang Yuyan smiled and whispered, "Ethan Grant, so pretty."